Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is Childcare Rockstar Radio, episode 170, featuring John and Tracy LaBreche. I'm so thrilled that you're here with me at episode 170 of Childcare Rockstar Radio. This is a really good one, guys. If you're a multi-site owner or if you would love to become one, these two, beautiful married couple, John and Tracy LaBreche, from Southeast United States with 7 locations, have a lot to share in this episode. And I can't wait to get to it. But before we do, let me share with you a thank you to Live Oak Bank. They are today's podcast sponsor, and growing your childcare business savings just got easier with a high yield savings account from Live Oak Bank. Building your savings isn't always easy, but with a Live Oak online savings account, they've taken on some of the hard work. With competitive interest rates of 4% APY, FDIC insurance, no monthly maintenance fees or minimum balance requirements, and a fast and secure connection to your other bank accounts, you can enjoy a simpler way to save. At Live Oak, they reward you with remarkable service and some of the most competitive savings and CD rates. To open a business savings account that benefits your bottom line, visit liveoakbank.com/rockstar. That's liveoakbank.com/rockstar. And also they can help you with really good loan programs as well. So definitely check them out. On a prior podcast episode here at Childcare Rockstar Radio, I interview Jessica from Live Oak Bank. And if you want to learn more about what's going on in the commercial lending space, definitely check that episode out. Today's episode is chock full of what we learned during COVID, post-COVID, and now into the new world here in 2024 from my guests, John and Tracy. They share a lot of vulnerability and real talk around their desire to not burn their team out during COVID. A lot of you guys can relate. And so they allowed their team to pause enrollment when things were getting tough. And so as a result, their enrollment decreased, and they also were having issues with school culture and staff turnover. And they're only about 4 months into their journey in Childcare Success Academy membership, and they've already seen a huge return on investment. So they're going to share that on the podcast. We talk about diving into the root cause of the real problem with your team and how hard that can be, and some tips and techniques around root cause analysis. We talk about enrollment, onboarding, culture, policies, performance reviews, enrollment specialist role, and then how to keep your momentum strong once you start building that momentum with your team and coming back to a place of positivity, how to keep it going. These two are all about passion, enthusiasm, and providing parents with a high-touch experience in their child's education, a high-end experience, both in people, product, and process throughout the childcare journey that they're on. And so let's dive in. Without any further ado, meet John and Tracy LaBreche. Enjoy it. Let's go. Welcome back to Childcare Rockstar Radio, everybody. I am thrilled to introduce you to 2 amazing humans today on the podcast, John and Tracy LaBreche. How are you guys?
We're awesome.
Magical.
Well, where are you tuning in to us from? Where are you sitting right now?
We are in our corporate office in Birmingham, Alabama.
All right.
Our conference room.
Yep, sitting in our conference room.
Very good. And obviously you are a husband-wife team running your early childhood business. Tell us more about the ins and outs of your business, your brand, how many locations, where are you located, et cetera?
Right now, we have 7 locations. We have 3 in the Huntsville area, and then we have 4 in the Birmingham area. So we currently have 1,555 students enrolled, with 504 students on the wait list and about 360 employees.
Awesome. And what is the average rough capacity per location that you have, size-wise?
So 4 of our locations are really big mega locations that have 18 classrooms that hold 285 students. And then the 3 other locations, 2 of them hold about 215 and 1 holds about 170. They're one of our legacy locations.
Gotcha. And how long have you been in the business?
I started in 2011.
Started in 2000, but only did that for a few years because we had just gotten married and started having kids, and so then I stayed home. So we have 6 kids. So when John got into it, 2011, then I kind of got back into it too. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So did you purchase the schools in early 2000s and then have your kids and then come back to it, or you purchased in the throughout 2011 and beyond?
So initially it was we were asked to come to Birmingham by a group of investors who wanted to start something outside of their own industry. So like they were all very successful in their own ways and just wanted something else to kind of invest their money in. And so they asked us to come up. John was IT at a bank. So I did it for like 2 years. Yeah. And I had 2 kids in 2 years. So then I was like, I wanted to stay home. But John really stayed in touch and involved with everybody that was behind the scenes. Like we went to church with some of them. He trained for like marathons with some of them. So there was a lot of just conversation that was always happening about what the company was doing. So
then I stepped in 2011 as a consultant originally to help their board. And then in 2012, I left the bank, went full-time as CEO. And then in 2013, we reorganized and I had the opportunity to buy in to become an owner. And then we grew from 2013 to 2018. In 5 years, we went from 3 locations to 9 locations. And we went from 560 students to 2,000 students.
Wow.
Just crazy growth.
Yeah.
And then in 2017 to 2018, we went through a business divorce, and there's 4 owners, and we all kind of separated. 2 of us went one way, 2 went the other way.
Okay.
And we all agreed to abandon the old name and create new names. So it was painful, but it was a lot of emotions. No one did anything wrong. It was just a lot of big personalities that didn't fit any longer. And then the Ardent Preschool and Daycare name was birthed in 2019, January 2019.
Okay. So that is your brand, is Ardent?
Ardent's Preschool, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, the journeys of our Academy members are all unique, and you certainly have a unique journey. And having been in partnerships as well as solopreneuring myself, I know the ins and outs of big personalities trying to all work together, and sometimes managing all that energy and also people's goals and dreams and methods can all kind of be different, and so it can go different directions. But it sounds like you've come to a new good place, and we're certainly happy to have met you and being of service to you and your business and trying to help you solve the pain points of your businesses. So we're going to get into that here in a moment. But before we do, I want to ask you a little bit about your home life. So you mentioned that you have 6 kids. So I would love for you to share the ages of those kids and a little bit about what's going on at home. I'm sure things are very busy.
My life is crazy.
Yeah.
Our oldest is 23. She's an esthetician. We have 3 in college, 21, 20-year-old and a 19-year-old.
Okay.
And then we have a senior in high school, Ava, she's 17. We just went and toured with her. She's going to go to cosmetology school too, to be an esthetician. So we're excited about that.
Great.
And Asher, our baby, is 15.
Okay. Awesome. 3 in college. That's a lot of tuition. I have 1 in college, so I'm feeling your pain on that.
Well, you know what though? They have worked really, really hard. I think Zoe, we paid like $50 for because she's gotten athletic and academic scholarships. So
nice.
She has just worked her butt off.
Awesome.
And,
go Zoe.
Yeah. It's been awesome to see that.
Yeah.
The boys work hard too, but
yeah, the boys got scholarships too, but not as big as the girls get. So we're a big volleyball family. So we do indoor volleyball, sand volleyball, grass volleyball. It's lots of volleyball. So.
Nice. So I'm assuming you guys are all pretty tall.
Well,
no, it's hard. I'm not.
Yeah. And John's tall.
Yeah, John's tall. I think the boys are like 6'3".
Yeah, the boys are starting to get a little taller than me, so it's okay.
Joey's like 5'10".
I mean, just because it helps to be really good at volleyball if you're tall, but that's great.
Yeah,
you don't have to be. You don't have to be. Certainly,
it's hard to coach height.
Yeah, that's cool. So, and you mentioned marathon. I don't know if you're still running, but tell us a fun fact. Share with the audience something that not that many people know about you, or just a fun fact for each of you, please.
Ooh. I am a tequila connoisseur. That is a fun fact. I collect tequila and enjoy tequila.
Enjoy sharing your love.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So
I love to educate people in the process.
Yeah, I have recently gotten into learning more and enjoying tequila. There's one actual brand that was being promoted by Tim Ferriss in his podcast and in his, I don't know if you guys know Tim, but he's promoting a naturally made, really, really good, clean tequila. But I would ask you, it's probably very difficult to say what is your favorite tequila, but what's one that you love?
One that I think is a great value one that's not too hard to get, but is not as popular as Mia Familia. It's a really great value, great taste, good finish. And they just got bought out by a California company. So whatever's in inventory is all you're going to get. They're going to rebrand it and probably jack the price up because it's that good. Casa Azul is really good, but it's overpriced. Mm-hmm. You know, it was probably before COVID, it was like the awesome buy because the bottles were so unique and the good quality. Right. But now it's like it's double valued than what it is price wise. But you know what you're getting when you get it. So
cool.
Mezcal, but most people don't like mezcals. So it's acquired taste there.
I like it. I like the smoky.
Yeah.
Tracy, how about you? What's a fun fact?
A fun fact would be just that I love to read. Last year, I started my daughter encouraged me to set a reading goal. So I got 25 books done. So this year I'm increasing that and I'm already like close to having 5 books read this month.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm really going to be competitive with the people I know that are reading. One of our directors, she told me she read 60 books last year. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to try to get close to that. But yeah, one of the things that I started doing on the treadmill, instead of watching my shows, I read now every morning for 3 miles. So that's helped out a lot.
Yeah, that could definitely help. Because I was going to ask you, because for me, I usually save my reading for bedtime, but then sometimes I just get sleepy and I fall asleep. So I don't, but what is a book of the 5 you've read so far? What's one that stands out?
Okay. So I finished Traction.
I
love the book Traction. Like I had read What the Heck is EOS?
Yes.
And so then read Traction. So that was awesome. But I also just finished the book, The Alter Ego. So
good.
That one is good.
I haven't read that one yet. I think I have that in my pile. I'm a notorious book buyer with a big pile next to my bed. So.
Same.
Awesome. Love that. Very good. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Traction can be kind of you kind of have to slug your way through it for some people because it is pretty data heavy and pretty process heavy in certain spots. But I think it's well worth it as a read and as a practice. For me, it's an entrepreneurial practice. So, and it's been life-changing. So if you guys haven't read Traction, definitely pick it up. Start with What the Heck is EOS if you're more of a light reader, and then dive in. That's great. So let's talk about your schools. So talk a little bit about when your purpose, your why, your philosophy, what you were thinking about when you started your brand and started these schools, what would set you apart in your marketplace, or what was important to you as an educational entrepreneur to put into the marketplace for families and children?
So I think with the name Ardent, Ardent is really an adjective. So it's enthusiastic or passionate, right? And so that's one of the things that we wanted to capture, is that this was a place where our people, our teachers, our admin were enthusiastic and passionate about that, right? Because you need that at the top for the trickle down effect for the end product to be one of value. So a value to our families and to our children. So Ardent was the name that we chose. And it's kind of become, like you can see on John's shirt, even with our logo, the shield, that had really, when we came out with that, like everybody loved it because it just seems so professional, like Harvard, like for our families. So that is one thing also, like with our purpose, is just committing to excellence in all areas so that we can deliver a childhood experience that is worth the investment of our parents. And because childcare is not a cheap, it's not a cheap thing, and everybody needs it.
Plus, you only get one go around.
Yeah, you get one chance. You get one shot at a really good early childhood experience.
Yes.
And also too, just exceeding expectations. So that's one of the things that kind of, when we get testimonials or reviews from our parents, one thing that kind of just always is a reoccurring thing is like, we've exceeded their expectations. And I know that's kind of cliche for a lot of businesses, but like when you hear somebody say that you've exceeded their expectations, I mean, it's telling you they're coming in kind of not knowing what to expect, right? And so I think all of the things that we offer, and we're also a Christian company too, so we do Bible and a lot of character training with the kids.
Christian curriculum.
Scripture verses are memorized every week. There's a lot of those elements too that parents might not necessarily like. That might not be on their checklist for what they're looking in at daycare, but those are just the extra bonuses that they get when they're with us.
Okay. And then we also tried to bring a very professional, so like if you come to one of our schools or you watch one of our video tours or locations, it's very, very professional. You walk in, it feels like a day spa. There's music playing. It smells good. It's not like a typical setting. It's very, very high end. So that kind of sets us apart from our competitors. We're very, we always focus on people, process, and service, where I have the right people doing things the right way to have excellent service. You can't have one without the other. So
Yep. Love it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Marcus Lemonis, but I love that guy. And it's always, he always does people, process, and product. And what you're talking about is your product when you walk in the door is this experience that you've set as a choreographed experience with the way it smells, the way it sounds, and the way it looks, and the way it feels, that comes together for a customer reaction, which is managing customer reactions at the top level of the game. So I love that. So and I love having the overall, the brand essence be exceeding customer expectations, or sometimes what I call customer delight. Is just trying to foster experiences of customer delight and getting your team and your staff tied into that, of what that looks like, what that feels like, and really training them to how do we foster customer delight.
Making those relationship connections, try to anticipate certain things, over communicate. We're very top heavy at our school level, the way we have our organization kind of set up, so that we can foster those touch points and build those connections. I know a lot of our competitors don't structure their administrative team at the school level like we do, and we break everything out certain silos so that we can have more intentional relationship build and being a relationship brokers, really making deposits and making withdrawals.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. So let's talk a little bit about where you were when I met you. I'm very grateful to have been introduced to you by Nathan Kelly at Founders, my buddy Nathan. Yeah. And you guys were in a bit of a business challenge, maybe even, a pretty daunting business challenge. So talk a little bit about what brought you to the academy and to me. What were some of the biggest business pain points that you were facing at that time? And that was last fall, last summer, October. Fall.
Yeah.
So, surviving, just like most operators who went through COVID, it felt like you went through COVID and every state had different challenges. Alabama, we were actually the first private entity to be granted a waiver to stay open for essential care. So we were officially only closed one day. And we rolled out procedures, and I got approval from the health officers to stay open for essential care. And it seemed like from that point of June of 2020 till the summer of 2022, it was like survive COVID, get through COVID, and we were like maxed out. And then there's like a staffing pandemic, couldn't find enough teachers. Everyone was getting burned out. We reduced our hours because we couldn't stay open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. anymore because we just didn't have the staff.
Yep.
We got beat up real bad, and we lost probably over 230 families over that decision. And
wow.
Well, we built back and had to shift and change gears. And it felt like when we hit the summer of 2022, it was just like you still had this haze or fog over you from COVID and from the staffing pandemic, and just trying to, get excited about it again. So like when we went to that October conference, we, especially doing the boot camp and doing all the, different techniques that you had, we came back kind of fired up and energized and shifted the settings in our mindset and unleashed.
Well, I think the other element was, kind of like you get what you tolerate, like, and so
yes,
for so long we just kind of were like, oh yeah, okay, the circumstances really stink. Our good people are burned out, so we would pause enrollment until we could get staff. So like we were trying to juggle both things, like preserving our good people so that they weren't staying for so long every day.
Yes.
But then also like at the same time, like then enrollment was suffering because we were, John would just pause. If any director said like, I'm having a hard time staffing, he'd be like, pause enrollment. And like, out of the goodness of his heart, like was just trying to help them see some light at the end of the tunnel instead of us trying to push enrollment when they didn't have the people, So,
right.
So, and then, like in the fall, like typically parents aren't looking to change daycare in September, October, like that time of year is not, we keep a lot of data, like we track a lot of stuff. And so, I mean, we can pull all of our years and see like, there's always a dip in enrollment in those months. And so, part of our thing too was just like our mindset, our director's mindset was like, well, this isn't a time for enrollment anyway. So like we can just cruise through the rest of the next month. And when we did that exercise in October, the money on the table, and John about fell out of his seat. And I don't like to see him freak out, but that was a point in time where he, and really it just was kind of the realization of like, okay, we need to change this. We need to change our approach. We need to go back and talk to our teams about, we know that first of all, the staffing is not what it was before, and we might not ever get there. So we need to realize
it's the long haul. This is the environment we're in.
We can't wait. We can't wait for the people that we used to have. Like that's just no longer an option. So we need to just continue hiring. And John always has this motto of you meet people where they are and you lead them where they need to go. So we need to start doing that as a company. We know people are just going to need more coaching, more training. That's okay. We have the time and we can put the time and resources into doing that. But we really need to push enrollment and not be complacent. We weren't even meeting our matrices. We have a yearly, like a monthly matrix where every school needs to be throughout the year for their enrollment. And that fluctuates with just our trends. And we weren't even meeting that. Like we had 2 locations that were 100 kids down.
Wow.
100 seats down.
Yeah.
And so
you had $3 or $4 million on the table, I'm going to guess. So don't feel bad, because I'm actually working now with a large franchise corporation with 361 sites, and they have like $20 million on the table.
Yeah. I mean,
probably some of these big boys are like,
I think it's $200 million on the table actually, but yes. So yeah, don't feel bad.
Some of these bigger ones are like, oh, we're at 70% enrollment.
Yeah.
80%. We're comfortable with that. 80% is good. I'm like,
right. No, it's not.
I'm freaking out. Like, what's going on?
You can't be comfortable with that. And I think that was one of the things I get buy-in on their end. Be like, that's not, we can't be comfortable with.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So
when we came back from the conference, we hired a full-time marketing person, and then we reassigned one of our internal corporate people to be an enrollment specialist. And then we hired an internal recruiter. And then I rolled out a bonus program at the schools that was focused on enrollment, and made the bonus program for everyone in the admin team. Because in order for you to have your enrollment, you got to have staffing. In order for you to have staffing, you got to have good hiring, training, and you ain't going to have good enrollment unless the parents are being met and satisfied. And
that's right.
Customer service. So it all trickles down and trickles back up.
We sold it to them as like, instead of just a director getting a bonus, it was like their entire admin team. So director, assistant director, office manager, office assistant, because everybody has such a crucial role to play in the experience, right?
Yes.
From answering the phones to closing the deal to working their wait list. So that got everybody excited. And I would just send weekly emails about like, let's go, like, you guys are doing it. Even if we're just pushing it one kid out of week, one child out of campus. Some of our smaller schools, like their gains were obviously smaller than the bigger schools. But I mean, they pushed the needle. And then we also gave them, so what happened too is like some of them would work their wait list and they would say like, we have families that just aren't interested in switching right now. And so then we would be curious and we would say, well, what's the reason? And they would say, well, they have to give their 2 weeks notice. And we'd be like, fine, we'll take them on. We'll give them 2 weeks free because we want them here. We want to make it as easy as possible for them. And so when they started being a little more courageous in like their deal, making deals, that kind of empowered our admin team. And then they started seeing like people coming over, like it was working. So and
then like when you start seeing because we do these weekly KPIs, it shows out everyone like what their enrollment is, what their wait list is, the percentages, how many tours they had, how many tours converted, and seeing that and getting some movement on it, but then also highlighting it and making the whole team effort aim towards that goal, it took off. So the goal was to try to get, 5% better in that short period of time from like October 16th to January 9th. We were aiming for 5% and we got 7.5%. So we grew 126 new enrollments in a time period that was not typically a big growth period.
Right.
But then our wait list was like at 505 on October 16th and it stayed at 498. And since then it's already grown. Enrollment and wait list has grown.
Mm-hmm.
So we are now, as of this week, 91% enrollment. We had been, that's company wide, and we had been at 90% in 2 years.
Yeah, like it was like the beginning of 2022.
Yeah.
was the last time we were at 97% and 97% is our goal now. So our goal is like, hey, let's push to 97%. Let's operate between 95 and 97% company-wide. Yep. Let's see if we can, achieve that.
Yeah. So that's great. So some of the things you did that really worked quickly off of coming to the summit is you reskilled one of your existing staff to be a full-scale enrollment specialist. You hired an internal recruiter to help with bringing teachers on board, and just having that focus is so important. With fast response to applicants, like that's the name of the game, is you got to have somebody focused on it 100%.
Call them, email, text them, get a hold of them.
Yeah,
talk them into it. Let's go.
On it.
Well, I mean, one of the things we were seeing was that there would be all of these applicants, but the directors didn't have time to sit down and go through them. And so now, like, we just streamline the process. Our internal recruiter is filtering all of those, and she's lining up the interviews for them. So the directors only have to be involved at that point. So it's just made it a lot easier.
Yeah. And then I'm assuming you had a CRM in place before the summit, maybe not, but is your enrollment specialist focused?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're working your CRM more actively, your enrollment specialist, just staying on top of hot leads, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And because, our enrollment specialist doesn't go out and meet people to do the tours. They work behind the scenes through the CRM and managing our wait list, triggering those promotions.
So did you do a promotion in October, November that was a special, like a tuition special?
Tuition special. And then we turned it off at the locations that are too full.
Yeah.
So there's no point. And then the ones that are still needing to grow their enrollment, they still have their promotions going. And then the big thing was just letting them know, like, if you have someone who's on the fence, let's see what they need to make it work.
Right.
Let's find a way to meet them. And then like every Friday I do a call with all my directors to get their KPIs. And even though I can pull the system to get their KPIs from them without their need, but I want them to do it. I want them to say it on the call so that there's some internal competition. And then I started asking further, how many phone calls did they make? How many phone interviews? How many in-person interviews? How many offers did you make? And pushing that. So there's like, hey, all right, you had 20 phone interviews and you had 20 people set up for interviews, but only 10 showed up and you made 5 offers. Well, guess what? You need to do 30 or 35 interviews. You need to schedule 40 people, because only double book it. And if 2 show up, great. If not, double book them. Let's go.
That's right.
It's hard to look up when you're in the fetal position. So, changing your mindset so you're no longer in the fetal position is helpful. You can actually see more. If you actually stop and look around, you might see something.
Yes. Well, what I love because when we came out of COVID, one of the first things that I gave to the Academy from a talk that I did at a live meeting was a simple tracker scorecard for hiring. And to exactly what you said is, and every month you just measure, it's very simple, little, you could drop by hand if you wanted to, but you put it on a spreadsheet, and it's, how many applicants, where did they come from? How many did phone screens? How many interviewed? How many got hired? How many were with us at 30 days and 90 days? If you need 10 teachers, then you can work your math backwards and go, well, based on the percentage of a typical month, we need to have 300 conversations to keep 10 teachers or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But, just that clarity. And so many people, you guys just don't do it. They don't create a simple ass tracker. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
So it kills me. Yeah.
It's so important. We had an admin training day last Saturday. And one of the things that we were just reminding everybody of is the importance of tracking everything.
Mm-hmm.
Data.
Because, big decisions come from the data.
That's right.
Or even just troubleshooting, like us asking and being curious and being like, why aren't the parents converting? Why are they coming? Why are they touring, but they're not coming? Oh, because they don't want to miss, they have to pay that 2 weeks at the other daycare. Well,
right.
If I know that information, we can make a pretty easy solution to that.
That's right.
So I think like our thing is just tracking, being curious, investigating, and then it's pretty easy to come up with a solution.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And look at what is the real root cause of the issue, and then just solve it. Let's brainstorm ways to solve it. Test different solutions, but just be on it. And I love your spirit of
re-energizing, getting out of the fetal position, re-energizing your troops and your team, getting everybody on board. And then they're starting to see, and bonusing them, they're seeing the excitement, and then now they're in momentum. Before they were not in momentum. So,
exactly.
So
it was so easy. I think like in 2022, we paused enrollment for over 4 months, just stagnant. And then for 2023, we paused it for over 2 months, just pause enrollment. You know? And it's just, I mean, this is the new work environment that we're in. You deal with what you got and be happy for what you don't have.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about your culture and your leadership. With your hiring and your onboarding training, that was one of the things I talked to you about when we first got to know each other, was just helping you with your school culture so you could improve your staff retention, get them to stay longer, be bought into a positive culture. So what are some of the things that you've done, whether it's policy related, onboarding or training, to try to move the needle in your culture and your retention?
Well, we have a attendance bonus that we do for our teachers, and trying to be more intentional and educating them on that, because it's a great recruiting tool, but it's also one of those things where, it's real basic. It's like every quarter, if you don't call out, you can schedule your PTO, it's fine, but if you don't call out, you get $600. If you call out, it drops from 600 to 300. If you call it a second time, it goes to 0. So educating and letting people know, it's like, hey, like, I'm not, come in for your shift. Stop calling off. It's raining. I'm going to call out. Well, the stuff falls from the sky. It's okay. Windshield wipers, and it's okay. And then also just trying to shift some of the school's mindsets and give them some better tools and ideas on doing more fun things. So like, if you're doing a lunch and learn, you make 50% of the lunch learn needs to be something fun, something exciting, something that excites everyone, not just hammer policy and procedures over and over.
Right.
Because sometimes it's like the 3 people in the room that you need to talk to, you make this big thing about, say, dress code, and the 3 people you wish that were listening weren't listening.
That's right.
And then 40 people that were actually do fine with dress code think that they are somehow violating something they don't know about.
That's right.
But you just need to address those 3 people. Don't waste everyone else's time to talk about dress code. So
it actually is a demotivator when you do that, because then the 40 people that are good are either they're like, well, what the hell, man? We're doing good. Why are they telling us this? So it starts to detract.
Yeah.
But so totally love that. So with regard to policies, it sounds like you guys put some performance review improvements in place.
We did our performance reviews in ADP, so that our core values, which also we redid our core values last year so that they spell out Ardent. So it's accountability, respect, dependability, engaging, nurturing, and a team player. Because those are the elements, core values that we thought really kind of encompassed who we wanted to be at Ardent. So, so those values now are part of the performance reviews. And so we worked with HR and we created kind of a matrix to kind of give them some ideas of what it looks like. What does it look like to be accountable? And what do we do at Ardent that like shows ownership? Taking ownership over your classroom is one way to be accountable. Just different things like that. And then also to like every month, we kind of focus on one of our core values. So like in January, it's accountability. So like with our admin teams, we might share articles or videos about accountability. But then for our teachers, we have like certificates where like teachers are recognized for that specific value. So, and then
we try to also hire people with those core values and explain this is what we're looking for. But then when we have to sit down and do a coaching moment or do, a write-up, it's like, you violated this value.
Yep.
You are not dependable. You called out 7 times in 1 month.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
That's definitely something we want to do a better job of this year, is taking everything back to those core values. So it's not, it's not this subjective. Nobody feels like it's just because I don't like you. These are our core values. This is our foundation of how we operate, how we behave. Right. and it really matters to us, and so it needs to matter to everybody else too. And again, when we're all operating and we're in alignment with those, like really good things happen. And less time, energy, resources are spent correcting and, doing all of the things that we don't really want to be doing that takes away from giving the kids the awesome care that they deserve.
Yeah. I love the behaviors. That's where the rubber hits the road on your core values, as getting people to align with those behaviors. And it makes it, like you said, completely objective to have those conversations. It makes it easier to have the hard conversations around behaviors, and letting people know that it makes it a much more fun and successful workplace when we're all in alignment with the values and the behaviors, and it's better for kids, and it's way better for all of us together as well. So I think it makes it a lot easier for you to also determine who is a C, D, or F player that needs to be offboarded. And without any, like, the biggest pain that I see, or the biggest challenge for leaders, is that they're so heart-centered that they don't want to let go of people because they feel bad. Mm-hmm. But when you reframe it to, well, actually, these people's behaviors are not supporting the environment that we want in our school, then it makes it a lot easier to say goodbye.
Yeah. And it's, sometimes too, it's like reminding them that, hey, this isn't a good fit. This is a calling, and your season of life, you're better off doing this.
That's right.
God bless you and keep you elsewhere.
That's right.
That's okay.
Yep. It's okay. Love that. So you are about 4 months into your membership in the Academy, and I'm really happy and can't wait to meet you guys. And I met you already at the Academy, at the summit, but to see you again at your first quarterly meeting, which is coming up in Clearwater Beach. And so my question to you is, even though you haven't come to a quarterly meeting yet, a mastermind meeting, how do you feel so far about your return on investment in your Academy membership?
The ROI so far has been huge, because we've been in other business coaching groups. And what I love about it is, like, when you're in the pod call and you commit to, like, wanting to implement something, you get holding our feet to the fire. Like, it's not this nebulous thing. It's like, no, you said you're going to do this.
That's right.
Where are you? Why haven't you got this done? Stop removing those excuses. Get this done. It doesn't have to be perfect. Roll out something that's 75% is better than 0%.
That's right.
So
cool.
And then plus you're getting content that's directly related to the industry.
Yes.
There's lots of other mastermind groups that can be just general business stuff.
Yeah.
And they go through, issuing processes and different business things, which is good for general IQ. But there's a lot of times where I'm sitting there going through it going, well, that's, I'm not a CPA firm. I'm not a construction company.
Yes.
I can't, like, people are like, oh, we're going to shut down the whole company and do an offsite visit. I'm like, no, you can't do that.
No, I can't do that.
What are you talking? So,
yeah. So I think having it be industry specific with these top level ECE owners in your pod and coaching you takes it one step more powerful.
Right. Plus, you can relate when you're networking. It's not like trying to engage someone who owns an insurance company. Like, okay, that's great, but
right.
in daycare,
it's different. In one of our other groups, received some, maybe it was bad advice, and it was like, kind of like, you guys don't understand the industry we're in. Like,
that's right.
We're dealing with, it's a very emotional, like, you can't just make a decision like that, like you might with another company, like, there are lots of people who are very emotional. Their kids are involved. Like, we don't operate like that. But I'd also say, like, it's been really good too, Kris, for our teams. So for them listening to being on the coaching calls, on the Wednesdays, like, the way that we've implemented that too is they listen and then they email me, like, their 1 to 2 takeaways. So it's not their notes. I'm not looking for that. What I'm looking for is, like, what did you get from this call that we could actually turn around and implement, and it's going to make us better?
That's right.
And so that's given, it gives ownership to our teams, our admin people. They're taking the time to listen to it. They're involved in some of the things that we're that they're bringing to our attention, like, how about this? Or like, what can we start doing this? And so that's been really rewarding to see too.
Yeah.
We're pouring into them. So like our big goals for this year is like developing leaders and having a healthy culture. I think if we keep those two things at our forefront, everything else will kind of fall into line to be successful. You know, develop leaders at every stage of the process, and then having a healthy culture. So not just be the classroom, front office, the company, everyone has to have a healthy culture. That's where reality meets the road. You know, the value system becomes a reality.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Especially when there's going to be challenges. Like this parent has a challenge, this child has a challenge, this teacher has a challenge. And so having that culture is the glue that will hold you together in the face of challenges as well. So I love that. Cool. Well, we're out of time. I want to ask you just where are you headed? What are you excited about for 2024 and beyond? Do you have any big goals and dreams you'd like to share, or anything else you'd like to share with the podcast audience?
Well, we're going to be rolling out a new regional director this year. So that's a pretty big shift. So I'm pretty excited about that role.
So you haven't had any regionals to this point. Okay.
We had one before COVID. We had one for a short period, but right now I juggle that personally.
Okay.
Free up some of John's stuff and let him really do the things that he's really good at.
Wait.
Look for opportunities and grow the business. So, So we're excited about that. Excited about implementing a lot of stuff that we've learned through the academy. You know, excited about get people in the right spots so everyone is aligned and rowing in the right directions versus rowing in circles.
Cool. All the feet moving the same way on the bus.
Yes, hopefully.
I don't know if Move Your Bus has been on your list, Tracy, but if you haven't read Move Your Bus by Ron Clark, you got to add that one. That's a good one for school culture. It's really good. So many good ones out there. Thank you guys so much. John and Tracy LaBreche, Alabama, 7 locations and almost impacting 1,600 children, 360 staff. It's a big operation, making changes and impacts in many, many humans' lives, and helping the families of Birmingham. And what was the other town? Huntsville. So fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today. I've loved getting to know you better and your story, and protect your energy with those 6 kids at home. Well, they're not. So it's two left at home now, it sounds like. And then 3 in college and 1 up and out. So 1 is off the payroll, 5 yet to be off the payroll. That's what I say, because I've got 1 off the payroll and 1 still on the payroll. But, all right, guys. Well, I can't wait to see you in Clearwater Beach. Thanks so much.
All right. Looking forward to it.
For being here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This was a great one. Lots of writer downers. So everybody go take some action on your biggest insight that you learned off this podcast. And we will see you next time. Take care and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I hope you liked this episode of Childcare Rockstar Radio. If you did, please share it with someone you know and help spread the word to your friends in our industry and on social media. Childcare business success is my passion, and I'm honored to be on this journey with you. As a thank you for listening, learn more about how to grow your business and make more income with our brand new free quiz, the What's My Number One Income Killer quiz, exclusively for preschool and childcare owners. Take the quiz today at childcarequiz.com to discover what your number one income killer is and how to solve it. Take care and God bless.